What's up, everybody? It's Peter Tragos, the lawyer you know, and today we're taking a break from Johnny Depp to jump back into Gabby Petito and more lawsuits that are being filed by her family for her wrongful death. If you don't know about this story, you're going to learn about it today because we are going to read the most recent complaint filed in my home state of Florida, which goes through all the facts of the case and why the estate of Brian Laundrie is liable for Gabby Petito's death. We're going to talk about why this lawsuit is very different than the other ones filed by Gabby's parents against Brian's parents. And we'll talk about the likelihood of them being successful. And if they are successful, what do they get? So if you haven't taken a second to subscribe to our channel, please take a second, subscribe. If you're interested in this case or any other case that we're covering, make sure you hit that reminder bell so you can get reminded anytime we post a video or go live to talk about a case that's happening in the news or in our home state of Florida. So, as an overarching theme, when we talk about wrongful death, you have to prove that somebody else is responsible for the death of the plaintiff you're suing on behalf of. And because it's Gabby Petito's mother, she is suing on behalf of Gabby Petito and herself, and she is suing the estate of Brian Laundrie, not Brian Laundrie's parents, not anybody else, just Brian Laundrie himself, saying he is responsible for Gabby's death. Now, if the reports from law enforcement are true and accurate, this is a slam dunk and a very easy win for Gabby Petito's mom. Unlike the case they filed together jointly, Gabby Petito's parents, against Brian Laundrie's parents for intentional infliction of emotional distress. We posted a video on that one already. If you want to check it out, we will link it in the description below. We talked about how that complaint wasn't the best complaint and probably would get dismissed. So the lawyers for Gabby Petito's parents have actually amended that complaint and made some of the fixes that we suggested, but not all of them. So we'll see if it gets past the next motion to dismiss that I expect to come from our friend Matt Luca, who's representing the Laundrie parents in that case, at least as local counsel here in the Tampa Bay area. But to focus on the complaint that was just filed for wrongful death, let's jump into that complaint so we can look at exactly what it says. All right, we'll start at the top of the complaint as we always do, and this was filed in Sarasota County. The plaintiff is Nicole Schmidt, who is Gabby's mother, as administrator of the estate of Gabby Petito, versus Barry Spivey as curator of the estate of Brian Laundrie, deceased. Okay? The complaint comes now. Nicole Schmidt, as administrator of the estate of Gabby Petito, by and through her undersigned counsel, and brings the within cause of action against Barry Spivey as curator of the estate of Brian Laundrie, deceased, and in support thereof alleges as follows. Number one, this is an action for wrongful death for damages which exceed $30,000, exclusive of prejudgment interest, costs, and attorney's fees. So, as you all know if you've watched my channel before, it doesn't mean they're suing for $30,000. To get into the circuit court in Florida, you have to have a claim that is worth more than $30,000. That's what they're alleging here to show that that jurisdiction is proper. Second, venue is proper in Sarasota County, Florida, because the estate of Brian Laundrie is being administered therein. So you can choose the venue based on where the defendant's estate is. Number three, this court has jurisdiction over the within matter pursuant to Florida Statute 26.012. 4, Nicole Schmidt is the mother of Gabby Petito. 5, Gabby Petito is survived by her mother and by her father, Joseph Petito, who are the only beneficiaries of a recovery for the wrongful death of Gabby Petito, which could be important if it was certain other claims like med-mal, they could potentially be barred, but that's not what this is. Number 6, defendant Barry Spivey is appointed for Brian's estate. Number 7, Brian Laundrie and Gabby Petito. Here is where we get to the facts for those of you who aren't familiar with this case, and it is a wild story. Brian Laundrie and Gabby Petito became engaged to be married on or about July 2nd, 2020. On July 2nd, 2021, Brian Laundrie and Gabby Petito left New York in a van owned by Gabby Petito, we'll talk more about that later, to take a trip to the western United States, which was expected to last for several months. Paragraph 9, Gabby Petito had hopes of becoming a travel influencer, a van lifer, and to document her cross-country travels on social media sites such as YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. And this is what took the world by storm, because she was starting to gain a following. She was an influencer. She was posting these pictures and videos of their trip, and then boom, all of a sudden something happened, and we have social media to document so much of what happened before Gabby Petito disappeared. During the course of the aforementioned trip, Gabby Petito called her family almost daily, including her parents, Joseph Petito and Nicole Schmidt, and her siblings. The last communication that Gabby Petito had with Joseph Petito was on August 21st, 2021. The last communication that Nicole Schmidt had with Gabby Petito was on August 27th, 2021. It is believed that on August 27, 2021, Brian Laundrie murdered Gabby Petito, The cause of her death was blunt force injuries to the head and neck with manual strangulation. And that came from a medical examiner's report of the body when Gabby Petito's body was found. And law enforcement indicated that Brian Laundrie took responsibility for Gabby's death in a journal that he left after taking his own life. Gabby Petito was 22 years of age. Brian Laundrie took his own life on or around October 20th of 2021. So you can see there were months that Gabby Petito was missing and nobody knew where she was or what happened to her. The death of Gabby Petito resulted from the intentional acts of Brian Laundrie as a direct and proximate cause or consequence of Brian Laundrie's tortious conduct. Nicole Schmidt and Joseph Petito incurred funeral and burial expenses, and they have suffered a loss of care and comfort, and have suffered a loss of probable future companionship, society, and comfort. Wherefore, plaintiff Nicole Schmidt, as administrator of the estate of Gabby Petito, demands a trial by jury and judgment for compensatory damages, loss of probable future companionship, society, and comfort, and such other relief that this honorable court deems just. So some facts that weren't in that complaint is they go on this trip, Gabby disappears, Brian shows up back home at his parents' house, then he disappears and there's a manhunt for him, and then he commits suicide by gun, according to the law enforcement's reports and the ME reports, but he takes responsibility for Gabby's death, who the medical examiner again said blunt force trauma and strangulation. So it all lines up. I think there's absolutely enough evidence to prove this wrongful death in court, and I think Gabby Petito's mother will be successful. Now, most of this is in contrast to the video that we posted about Gabby Petito's parents suing Brian Laundrie's parents. We said, can they prove culpability? Can they prove knowledge? Will they be able to win? Will they be able to prove this liability on Brian Laundrie's parents? We talked about some of the legal hurdles they'll have to get over. We talked about why their lawsuit was likely to get dismissed at least the first time around. But this is very different. This lawsuit is a slam dunk. However, what are they going to get out of this? Because if you remember back, Brian Laundrie and Gabby Petito were in Gabby Petito's van. The manhunt, when they were looking for Brian Laundrie, when they finally filed or had probable cause to file a warrant for his arrest, it wasn't for her murder. It was that he fraudulently used her credit cards. So he has no car, he has no money, he's got to steal her credit card and use it. Came back home to be with his parents, didn't go to his own house, doesn't have a house, doesn't have any assets. So what are they going to collect? Because there's no money and no assets in his estate, at least that's what I would guess. And if you're wondering how he could possibly have an estate open, you as a plaintiff can actually force a deceased defendant to open an estate. And you can pay for a deceased defendant to open an estate. I don't know if that's what happened here, but we've done it. When a defendant that's at fault for a serious car accident that results in multiple deaths also dies, we can force an estate to be open so that there is a defendant for that car accident claim. So that could be what happened here. And they could have forced this estate to be open. We don't know. So just because he has an estate doesn't mean he has assets. So if he has no assets, cases like this take a lot of time, money, and energy. So are the Petito parents going to go through all this just to get a piece of paper at the end to say, you're right, Brian Laundrie is responsible for Gabby Petito's death? Don't we already have that from law enforcement, from the journal, from the medical examiner's reports? Again, in the other case against Brian Laundrie's parents, maybe they're going to get answers. Maybe discovery is going to be fruitful for them, even if they don't win or even if they don't get a big verdict or get money out of this. But what are they going to gain from this case? Because Brian Laundrie's parents are not parties. They're not going to have the same control over them in this case that they may over the other. They won't have the same rights to certain documents and text messages and communications with them if they're not parties. My guess is they already have access to a lot of the law enforcement records and documentation that will be given to them freely without this lawsuit. So what is really to be gained from this lawsuit? Do they want to try this case in the court of public opinion? I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you think and what you can think of would be gained from a lawsuit like this, where there's likely no money at the end. There's no new information coming from discovery. There's no new judgment coming as we feel like it's already come out. What is there to gain by Gabby Petito's parents? Closure? Making them feel better about the situation? I don't know. I hope they do get that closure. And I hope if that's what they're looking for in this case, I hope they get it. But as someone that's handled these wrongful death cases, it's very difficult to get that. and you never feel whole. You never feel justified. You never feel better, no matter how much money you get. But at least you can see justice and a judgment and new information coming out in discovery. At least you have that to look forward to in a lawsuit that I don't really feel like Gabby's parents do in this situation. So if you're interested in this wild story, in this wild case, we have two parallel complaints and lawsuits going down in Sarasota County, one against Brian Laundrie's parents and one against the estate of Brian Laundrie or Brian Laundrie himself, with two different causes of action, two very different lawsuits. One is a slam dunk and one may even be barred by Florida law. So we're going to follow these two cases. Let me know if you enjoy it and let me know if you want us to follow these cases by liking the video, subscribing to our page, and letting us know in the comments. But for now, that's all we've got. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching this episode of The Lawyer You Know. If you like this content, please share it with your friends. Make sure you subscribe to our page and like our videos. If you want some interaction, get in the comments and we'll be sure to get back to you. If you want to know any more information about our firm or this page, you can find out in the description or visit tragoslaw.com. We post multiple times throughout the week, so make sure you hit that bell so you can get the notification and not miss out on the next episode.